so we're in the month of July, and the month of July is very important for Indian history because it was in this month, in the year 99, that we won the Kargil War against Pakistan. That period of 98 and 99 was also important because that was the time when we conducted the nuclear test, and then the famous Atal Bihar Vajpayee's Lahore Summit happened, and that went down in history. Got a very special guest with us today, our political editor, Ghoshal. And Sir was there with Prime Minister Vajpayee when all this was happening. He followed the political development and the military developments of the 99 and 90 very closely. So we're going to ask him about what exactly happened that time. We're going to know how the morale was among the Indian politicians between the Kargil war and the Lahore visit, and everything that happened went down in Lahore. We're going to find out from Sir. Welcome, sir, to our show. And we are hoping that our viewers can get some in-depth information from you because you were there firsthand. So the information is practically priceless. I'm going to start with the 98 test, sir. We carried out tests in the month of May in 98, and soon after that, Pakistan carried out tests as well. And the whole environment around those tests was such that Americans, Bill Clinton had famously said, he had made a speech where he said that I'm going to come down on those guys like a so I mean, there was a lot of negativity in that time, and plus India-Pakistan relations were never on a very high morale ground. Then that went to a new low. So how did that recover from May 2098? May 98 to then Vajpayee going to Lahore in February of next month? How did that period turn out to be?
No, actually, always when one incident takes place, always there is an antecedent. Right. So it's nothing is sudden in diplomacy, in war. Always there is a planning, and Pakistan was consistent on so far their Indian policy is concerned, because the Ziaul Haq, the theory was that 1,000 cuts, theory of 1,000 cuts, and that was the policy of Pakistan, and that is the philosophy, basic philosophy of the proxy war. Because we defeated Pakistan thrice. So Pakistan realized that through the direct war, it is not complementary for Pakistan political regime. So it is better to go for proxy war. But the Kargil, actually, it is from the deviation from the earlier proxy war policy, and it is virtual war. Whether you can call it a complete war or it is incomplete war, there are a lot of school of thoughts that war is a war. War cannot be incomplete or war cannot be partial. So war is a war. So Kargil war, it was a pre-planned war doctrine by the Pakistan Army. But what Nawaz Sharif did and what Vajpayee ji tried to do, that was actually with the political regime. But we always, that is a practice, we always call that Pakistan, there are several Pakistan in Pakistan. Right. So Pakistan, actually, we used to call 3A, that Allah, Army, and America. These are the 3A. So the American influence, because they used to purchase a lot of things, and when Cold War was there was a balance of power. Soviet Union, when Soviet Army infiltrated in Afghanistan, that time CIA and Pakistan was in fact brigadier. This Parvez Musharraf was then brigadier, and Bin Laden, Americans used actually that time against USSR. So anyway, that's a old history. But the thing is that Atal Bihar Vajpayee was the first architect who tried to melt the ice, and Lahore Bas diplomacy. It was a huge development, and actually it started 1 year back in America. Vajpayee and Nawaz Sharif met in the New York Palace Hotel. I was there in that press conference, joint press conference, and they announced that we will go to Lahore, from Delhi to Lahore by bus. So actually it was announced, but the Pakistan Army led by Parvez Musharraf, it was a secret war, and there is a dispute whether Nawaz Sharif knew it or not. Our perception, the usual Indian perception, that Nawaz Sharif didn't know. Like the Pokhran blast, it was a very secret mission, and it was, you can say, the genesis of the Pakistan's reaction. But actually China did it. America did it. So as, I mean, the important power of this South Asia, India thought that we should do that. What Indira Gandhi started, Vajpayee ji completed. And Vajpayee did the Pokhran too. So it is nothing unusual, but there is a huge reaction, international reaction, American sanction. But Vajpayee ji succeed to convince the global world, I mean the whole global society, that what we have done, it was not for attack. We have done, it is for our self-defense, because the equilibrium of this region should be maintained. Because this China already they have, and China-Pakistan axis is, everybody knows it. So we are not a member of NATO. So as a NAM member, non-aligned sovereign country, we should go for the Pokhran 2. That was the genesis of this. Pakistan reacted on that way, that Pakistan was very unhappy, that Pakistan is thinking that, and immediately Pakistan also did the nuclear test. And Pakistan also claimed that they are also with the nuclear doctrine. So they are also nuclear states. So now the India and Pakistan both are the officially nuclear states.
Yeah.
So this is the background basically.
Starting on from this, the relation between India and Pakistan went to a new low. And there was a fear in the world that, South Asia could become a new nuclear flashpoint because of India and Pakistan acquiring nuclear weapons almost at the same time. So, and you rightly pointed out that in New York, the two leaders met later that year. So how did the environment change? How did it become more conducive to the talks? And when they met in the USA for the General Assembly meeting, do you think there was some influence of the global community to make the two leaders talk about this issue there?
Exactly. And actually in 1998, when Vajpayee ji became the Prime Minister, in July, Atal Bihar Vajpayee's first visit, it was in Colombo. And there was a SAARC summit. And Nawaz Sharif also came to join in the SAARC summit. And that was the first visit of the Prime Minister, Atal Bihar Vajpayee. And they stayed, both Nawaz Sharif and Vajpayee, they stayed in the Taj Samudra Hotel. And Taj Samudra Hotel, I was also there with the media, as a member of the media delegation of Atal Bihar Vajpayee. And we covered, the very interesting anecdote I'm telling you, that in Taj Samudra Hotel, the meeting took place, Nawaz Sharif and Vajpayee. So we were more interested on that bilateral.
Right.
Although there was a SAARC summit, it was a multilateral platform.
The SAARC summit, that India and Pakistan become the highlights.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you very much for this point. Because Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, they are always actually शिकायत करते रहते हैं कि this is not fair, because it's a multilateral, and whole SAARC summit, you actually capture always this India-Pakistan, they eclipsed by India-Pakistan bilateral issues. So SAARC is now without teeth. So actually that is beside the story. But the interesting anecdote I'm telling you, very interesting anecdote, that we were waiting for the press conference. Yeah. So there was a meeting. We thought there will be a joint press conference. We don't know anything. We were just waiting, the waiting media people. And there are Pakistani journalists also, because there is a delegation. They reached with Nawaz Sharif. There is a media delegation of Pakistan. So we were interacting. And suddenly, the Pakistan officers were there. Our external affairs ministries officials were there. So they announced that no, there will be no joint press conference. Earlier we thought that there will be a joint press conference after the bilateral meeting. They said that no, there will be no joint press conference. The press conference will be separated. The first press conference, it will take place by Atal Bihar Vajpayee. And Atal Bihar Vajpayee reached. And there was an Indian flag they kept on the table. SPG reached earlier than the Prime Minister's arrival. Then Vajpayee ji came. And I was listening. Vajpayee ji was said that we are trying to make a peace accord. We are trying a business relationship. So there was a delegation level talk with the officials and the business people. Then after that, the Nawaz Sharif and Vajpayee, they talked. So it was a very good meeting, and there are some issues. Naturally, India, Pakistan, there is a baggage of history on Kashmir, and nobody denying the fact. So we will talk, but this is the thing. So I was standing and I was listening, and Ashok Tandon, the media advisor of Atal Bihar Vajpayee, he was also standing there to listen what Vajpayee ji is saying. So Vajpayee ji chale gaye, he left the place, and with that national flag, the emblem, they departed. And then Pakistani officials came. The Pakistani flag, they kept on the same table, and Nawaz Sharif came and he started the press conference. And he said that this bilateral meeting is a big zero.
Big zero.
It is nothing. Completely, he reversed. And he said, I remember, he actually gave an interview to the Sri Lankan newspaper also. Next day, we saw the completely failed meeting. And Nawaz Sharif said that the violation of the human right in Kashmir, we claim the Kashmir. Kashmir is a core issue. All these issues is a very hyper hawk approach of Nawaz Sharif we found. And Ashok Tandon was also there in the press conference because he was also listening what Nawaz Sharif is saying. And Ashok Tandon was in the delegation. When Prime Minister and Nawaz Sharif made the delegation level meeting, Ashok was also there. Ashok was saying that he is lying. Because inside the meeting, it was very friendly, very peaceful. Rather, one Punjab to another Punjab, how the business can build up. Nawaz Sharif was asking, because the businessmen of Punjab in Pakistan, they are interested. Nawaz is Punjabi. And Nawaz is he's a business family in the model town where he lives. It's a business society. So it's a very funny. So immediately we realized that what Nawaz is telling inside the meeting to Vajpayee, that maybe his Jill as a businessman also, the peace accord, he's trying to do that and he's doing it silently, but publicly he cannot confess that he's trying to make a peace accord because the hawk elements of Pakistan, the jihadi militants, the mullahs, they will react. So if you want to achieve the peace accord, what actually after next year in September in the United Nations they went, again I went with Vajpayee ji as a member of the media delegation, and that time they achieved the accord, and that time they announced it. So 1 year Pakistan didn't announce. So Nawaz Sharif was also very careful for the Lahore-based diplomacy. Unfortunately, when we reached Lahore, we found there is a bad smell. We understood.
We will get to that. So, sir, coming to the bus service in itself, how did the concept of starting a bus service from Delhi to Lahore start? And when did Vajpayee ji decide to actually go by that bus to Lahore? When did this whole thing come up first?
No, actually, when in New York they met, the basic the blueprint, both head of the states, they achieved. Because, they know that it is very difficult to meet very frequently physically. Right. Now we are accustomed with the video conferencing, digital, all these things. That time it was not there. So physical meeting, immediately it will be difficult. So on that day in the New Year, so both the sides, the officials, they actually did a very good homework. And from Delhi, how it will go, the route, the bus, the people, how many security people will be there. And then they said that the follow-up logistics will be formalized by both the side, by the diplomats and the officials. And G. Parthasarathi was the High Commissioner of at Islamabad, I remember. And he was a nodal person at Islamabad. And the Foreign Secretary was there. And Vajpayee ji and the Foreign Minister, Jasbant Singh was there. And the Principal Secretary and the National Security Advisor, Brajesh Mishra, was there. These are the characters who actually structured the trip. And what you are saying, the company of the bus, the name of the company, from which company the bus will be taken, all this. So they involve the transport department, they involve, it's a very, huge exercise, and they have done it very successfully, and they have done it very secretly also. Now, I find, or we media people find, that Modi ji also does everything very, secretly, so that he can achieve the goal. Because if you announce it before the operation, it is very difficult in a country like India, 135 crore population, huge democracy is there. So it will be very difficult to implement. So Modi ji, actually what he follows, I remember Vajpayee ji on this Lahore bus diplomacy operation, he succeeded to keep the information secret. Even Pokhran blast, nobody knew. Even Deputy Prime Minister L.K. Advani, he came to know after some time, in the last moment, because I remember Advani ji was supposed to go to Lakshadweep on that day. There is a trip, and I was supposed to go with Advani ji, so we actually was ready to go, and Advani ji's office in the late evening said that tomorrow the trip has been cancelled. There is a meeting with Mr. Vajpayee in the evening, and tomorrow the trip to Lakshadweep, Deputy Prime Minister's trip, has been cancelled for the time being. And the next day morning, Pokhran blast took place. So this is the interesting, that there is a secrecy, and they maintain that secrecy as much as possible from their side.
Right. So let's come to the bus going to Pakistan itself. How was the atmosphere on the bus? Who all were there? How did you feel like, you were being a part of history? That nothing like that had ever happened or has happened since. Since Vajpayee ji, only Prime Minister Modi visited Pakistan once. But you cannot call it as symbolic as the bus. How was the atmosphere and how did you feel?
Not a very huge delegation. And Mr. Rajat Sharma, the chairman of our IndiaTV group, he was there. And he was very close to Mr. Vajpayee ji. And he was there. We are junior journalists that time. But I want to mention one thing. I remember there are a lot of senior journalists were there. One thing I remember, when they reached to Lahore, when it was in Amritsar, there was no issue because it was our side. We crossed the Wagah border, and there is a good reception at the Lahore, that border area. From Lahore, the Wagah border. From Wagah border, Vajpayee ji came to Lahore and Islamabad. That time, he took a chopper. So, not by road, but it's a long road. So the other people, they took the buses and the cars and everything, but the Prime Minister, for his security, he took that helicopter. Right. And that helicopter landed at Islamabad. And that time there was a guard of honor and huge ceremony. But 3 service chiefs of Pakistan, they didn't attend. And they didn't receive Vajpayee. And Cabinet Committee of Security at Islamabad took a decision before his visit, that is a military security group. They forced the Cabinet Committee of Security that you political, the structure, you can receive him, but our army will not receive him. So the aptitude and approach we knew that day.
But the guard was given by the army.
That is a service chiefs were not there.
Service chiefs were not there. Right.
The individuals, the heads, they didn't come. That was a protocol that in that guard of honor, the service chief should be there. Right. So they violated that. And there is a story in the news. The newspaper, name of the newspaper was News. There is a news that they boycotted. It's a page 1 story. But Indian side, Indian diplomats, they took a strategy that when Vajpayee is trying to, make this accord with Nawaz Sharif, and Nawaz is also trying sincerely, we should not highlight this negativism of the army, ISI and the Hawk militants, because if you give importance to this aspect, because this is a half glass of water, it is always there. It's a half glass is full and half glass is flat. So if you emphasize on that negative aspect, then the whole environment, whole milieu, what you are actually talking about, that the atmospherics of Pakistan that day, it was so nice atmosphere, so I mean peaceful, and both sides actually so keen, because it was a people-to-people relationship. Actually, the people of Pakistan, they are also victim of bad economics. They are also victim of this trade and commerce and the culture, film, Bollywood movies. They cannot see the Bollywood movies officially. They see always the pirated movies. And there is a huge pirated market. I mean, the market of pirated movies. So there is the general atmosphere, the general milieu, because we went to the Anarkali market in Lahore just to see. And we found that some ISI officers were also following us. And you know, the very interesting that ISI guys, they were not talking to us. They are disclosing their identity. They were asking, one ISI officer, he came to me and was saying that, "Aur kitna der lagega aapko?" I said that we are in a group. So I am through, but I am waiting for one lady journalist. She has gone for the money changer office. So we are waiting for them. जल्दी कीजिए सर, बहुत सुबह से आप लोग, ये मेरा ड्यूटी है, जब तक आप लोग होटल नहीं जाएंगे तब तक आपको फॉलो करना है और ये सब करना है. So he actually is not hiding his identity. This is, somebody was telling me later in our Indian intelligence officer that, you know, our IB operation is more covert. We also follow, we also, if one Pakistani persons which is suspected, we also follow, and we can also, but we don't, we do it secretly. But the Pakistanis, they do it openly, that you are Indian and I'm, my job is to check. So this negativism we tried to ignore, but there was a segment, they shown black flags also when Vajpayee ji was going to the Lahore fort. So a section of Indian media is also very excited, because you know, in Indian media also there is a democracy. We thought that we should not highlight that negative side, because now it's a peace process and we should, we are all Indian citizen also. I'm a journalist, but Indian citizen also. But there are some journalists, they were very excited on this black flag and the go back Vajpayee. So they actually tried to show it. But so it's a democracy. But in general, Vajpayee's visit was more positive. But afterwards, Kargil happened. That's a different thing. But till that day, even I remember a very interesting thing. The ending program, when we were coming back, Vajpayee's the last speech at Lahore, Raj Bhavan, the governor house. And the Punjab Chief Minister of Pakistan, he was there, the Punjab governor of Pakistan. And Vajpayee gave a very romantic speech कि लगता है आज दिल्ली और लाहौर का दूरी बहुत कम हो गया है. So the interesting thing is that I cannot remember the exact Hindi words, because Vajpayee was a great speaker. So he's a eloquent speech he gave. But that eloquent speech I remember, he said that the physical and the geographical distance of India-Pakistan is static. But the distance,
in the heart,
it seems, so it's in a subjective way. In fact, that quote of Vajpayee was also, I think it is in Pakistan, कि आप भूगोल नहीं बदल सकते हैं, लेकिन आप इतिहास बदल सकते हैं. So you cannot change the geography, but you can change the history. So this is a famous, quote of Atal Bihar Vajpayee. He told it in Pakistan. So then we came back.
When Vajpayee ji was making speech in Pakistan, there were several occasions when he said that we should forget what happened in the past and we should move on to a new path of peace and prosperity. So he actually believed that, by taking such initiatives, India and Pakistan could finally end up with peace in the region. He did believe that, right?
Yeah.
So
that was a great opportunity.
Great opportunity. And then for what happened after that visit, it must have been, very very heartbreaking for him as a leader because he took personal initiative in doing all that.
In fact, the opportunity Vajpayee ji created with Nawaz Sharif, Pakistan missed the bus. Actually, Pakistan missed the Lahore bus.
Vajpayee ji took the
bus. Because this Nawaz Sharif tried and Parvez Musharraf spoiled it. And this is the irony of history, that Parvez Musharraf, after some time, when he became the president, he again tried the peace process and he came for Agra Summit and all these things happened later. So this is a peculiar history. So we call it, it's like it's a bamboo and with full of oil, and one monkey is trying to go to the top of the bamboo. This is the India-Pakistan relationship. Whenever you try to go to the top, and it's an oily stick, the bamboo stick, and you will come down. So again you will try, and again you will. So the first time in the history, now Narendra Modi has taken a decision that this Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum policy nahi chalega. So it is better. First, you stop the terror, the proxy war, terror, and all your subversive activities. Then we will start the dialogue. So dialogue also will continue and terror also will continue. That the previous policy, Narendra Modi has changed it completely. This is the first time in Indian history, I think, this change occurred.
The service chiefs of the Pakistani Army, Navy and the Air Force, in particular Parvez Musharraf, General Parvez Musharraf, there have been reports that, he had some personal reservations also with welcoming Vajpayee ji to in Lahore. And that is why he wasn't there. And several reliable sources, including prominent Pakistani journalists like Najam Sethi, have time and again said that Pakistani generals who had already initiated the Kargil operations by the time Vajpayee ji went to Lahore. So in practicality, when India and Pakistan were talking peace in Lahore, there was a large majority of Pakistani soldiers and light infantry who had infiltrated the Indian territory in Kargil. So how did all this pan out? And since both leaders did not know, you cannot say that either of them was insincere about peace. Like both of them were, sincere about making peace. But since neither of them knew about Kargil, you cannot blame them, right?
You have to accept the reality also that there was a intelligence failure also from our side, that we could not understand that what Parvez Musharraf is doing. And we accepted. The then government accepted that failure also. And there is I remember, because I used to cover both home and the defense, and there is inside the government, the military intelligence and the IB, there is a communication gap, communication error. And the IB was saying that we alerted you. The military intelligence could not understand the gravity of the IB report. And the military intelligence is saying that it was a more general report. It's not a specific report. As usual, the complaint goes like that. And the IB blamed the military intelligence. After that, what Vajpayee ji did, he made a Subramaniam committee to understand the Kargil intelligence failure and what were the fault lines. And the Subramaniam committee, it's a huge report. Mr. Subramaniam made 4 task force, and 1 task force for internal security failure, 1 task force is for the border force, 1 task force for, like this 4 task force were there, and they submitted the report of the task force to Prime Minister of India, the then Prime Minister Atal Bihar Vajpayee. So just few days back, after this Pakistan's present activities, I was reading the report. It's a huge report, and I found there are several clauses. Till today, we have not implemented. There are a lot of points we could not implement it. So actually, there is a debate because, like, the committee recommended that RAW should go with the foreign ministry, not the Prime Minister's office. So it should be independent. So like this, there are several clauses which there are a lot of debates. So, but I think that we should relook that Subramaniam Committee's recommendations, whether we will accept it or not, that our bosses of these securities and the National Security Advisor there and all IB, RAW. So, but there should be a new, the look to the issues, and there should be a new report, or there should be a review to the old report also. We need these things because you know what you are saying, that we could not understand, because in the May first week, ice is melting and usual time of infiltration. Suddenly we found that there are some villagers. They are actually roaming here and there. And suddenly IB got the information that there are some villagers. And they thought that the villagers with their own animals, they are actually, they are farming and they are doing their daily job. But later, suddenly they realized that they are with weapons. They are with, they are actually military with the plain dress, plain clothes. So they infiltrated. And that after that, we actually attacked and the war started. Immediately war started. It happens like this. And it's a prolonged war. And unfortunately, a lot of our soldiers, actually, we lost them. And that is the history, part of history now. But what you are saying, this is, I completely agree with you. And it's a very relevant question, because we could not understand the gravity of this Pakistan infiltration. Because, you know, we are human beings. When we are seeing the political regime, that time we understood that in Pakistan, the political master is now nobody. Like today's Imran Khan. He is nobody. Actually, it's a puppet political regime. It's actually army-controlled so-called democracy. It's actually militarism, not democracy in Pakistan. That we realized after some time when it happened.
Right. And during when the Kargil was in the month of July only, when our forces started pushing them back, Nawaz Sharif went to Washington and he met with Bill Clinton. And a lot of people say that, you know, a lot of speculation has been going on. That what did they talk there? And some people say that, you know, Bill Clinton had told them very categorically that no concession will be given to you, and you guys have to withdraw your forces like completely before India gives you any leverage on the Kargil matter. So how much truth is there in that? And another thing that relates to America is that there are also several reports that there was Parvez Musharraf was in China, and his conversation with his military commanders in Pakistan was led by the Chinese intelligence agencies and then given to Americans, and somehow we got a hold of that. And there was also something, reports of this. So how much truth are there in this?
So actually, Prime Minister Atal Bihar Vajpayee also visited America. He and the Bill Clinton also came here. So the relationship with Mr. Clinton, Mr. Vajpayee, it's a brilliant relationship. And you know, when we visited New York again with Mr. Vajpayee, Clinton invited Mr. Vajpayee at White House. Usually, I went with Manmohan Singh also, and the same White House, but the meeting took place with Obama, Manmohan, in the office, in that Oval Office. But what Clinton did, Clinton took him to his own house inside that complex. And it's a wooden structure, wooden staircases. I saw it's a big black and white photograph of Ronald Reagan. And Bill Clinton told Vajpayee that I'm a very great fan of Ronald Reagan because Reagan is a great actor. So, and inside the bedroom also, we were with Vajpayee ji, and we actually enjoyed the whole, that visit. And there was a great dinner.
Yes, sir.
And the brilliant dinner, cultural function. So basically that time, America understood that India is more important than Pakistan.
Right.
And Obama tried to improve the relationship with China also. He tried. He failed. That's a different story. But he tried to develop the relationship, and that. Bill Clinton, he was very sharp and clear. He told several times that India is the big elephant is very relevant and very important character for Americans. And Clinton, he pressurized Pakistan. Even when he came to Delhi, he went to Islamabad. But on record, he said in Islamabad that Pakistan should restrain. On terrorism, he was so candid. So it's a very good diplomacy. But what the second question is regarding the China. China is always, it's a mystery. So the Kargil time also, there is a theory that actually what Parvez did with Chinese support. And China actually in the Kargil war also, China didn't come openly, but internally, the Pakistan's main source of power, because Pakistan is a tiny state, and that's why Vajpayee, after some time, he said that we should not behave like Pakistan. So he invited Parvez Musharraf at the Agra Summit. There is a debate in the Cabinet Committee on Security. Advani, George Fernandez, they are not very happy. They are saying that why we will give the validity to the military rule, because it's a coup. So we are justifying the coup, inviting the military chief. So that means we are supporting the coup. And Vajpayee said that he is the official head of the state. Whether he has come through coup or not, that's their internal issue. So when the state-to-state relationship, like the Myanmar, is a junta government was the army government. And Suu Kyi's movement was a pre-democracy movement. So, but India never destroyed the relationship with the junta regime because it was a military regime. So, we will not maintain the relationship. It can't be. So, we are consistent on that. So, Vajpayee did the same right thing. And he, ruling out that possibility, ignoring the hardliners' opinion, he said that Pakistan is Pakistan. But we should not behave like a Pakistan. We are not a small state. We are not. So we should not. And that's why the global support we are getting. So what you are saying that Americans, they supported, Bill Clinton supported, because our approach was more diplomatic, not jingoism, not war-mongering. So Vajpayee's philosophy was more, like I was remembering when Narendra Modi was saying in the border of this Chinese border in the Ladakh, that expansionism is dead. It is over. But, the developmentism is there. But the cowardice, we should not be coward because we want peace. He's giving the peace message standing on the border of China. But the peace can be achieved with strength. So this is for the self-defense. So it's a very, I like that statement. And I remember on Pakistan also, Vajpayee ji took the same line, that we will not go for war, but for self-defense, we have to fight the enemy. That's it.
And sir, and it was, I think, probably this approach of Vajpayee ji which then later on developed into that backdoor channel talks between the two prime ministers. First between Vajpayee ji and Parvez Musharraf, then between Manmohan Singh and Parvez Musharraf. And Pakistan's then foreign minister, Mr. Kasuri, has written in his book, Neither a Hawk Nor a Dove, where he points out that the leaders had made a 4-point formula uh, to solve the issue of Kashmir once and for all. And that's his book. And that backdoor diplomacy was there, and they were very close to reaching a solution. So I think probably it was good nature of the Indian leaders, or something that. How do you think that Musharraf turned around from being a military commander who led to Kargil, and from there he did come to Agra and tried to sue for India? I mean, how did he change like this?
No, actually, when he became president, he was military chief. He never, in fact, the Pakistani media used to write that the power of the president lies in the uniform. So he never, changed his uniform.
Yeah.
He shifted from Rawalpindi's army chief house
Islamabad.
to Islamabad President House. And we asked this question to Parvez Musharraf in a press conference at Islamabad. He actually invited the Indian journalists for a press conference. So that was the drama. Always Parvez Musharraf he was very fond of Indian media to hold press conferences and all these things. A lot of personal questions were there. That you are a Muslim, but you are very fond of dogs. And your house is full of dogs. So India, you saw the several different types of dogs. So he was very free. And that time he was behaving like a completely democratic, and his behavior was something. He was fond of Bollywood movies, and he was naming several movies he saw. So he was a personal charisma. It was a brilliant personal charisma, but always he maintained the Rawalpindi house also, because he knew if he leave that post, then the new army chief will topple him, because the power lies with the army. So actually, it's a Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story. That there are two Parvez Musharraf. One Parvez Musharraf sitting at Islamabad when he was holding the press conference. He was so liberal, so democrat, and so sense of humor. And he wrote his autobiography with a lot of humors and scholar.
That Parvez Musharraf was good for peace between India and Pakistan.
No, actually, what Vajpayee and his team thought that, in fact, when Narendra Modi came, same argument was given by some Pakistani scholars, including Najam Sethi. He wrote a piece in the Friday Times also, that actually, when BJP comes to power, for Pakistan, it is easier to make the deal. So
Right.
It's an opportunity. When Vajpayee was there, Pakistan missed the bus. Now Najam Sethi and several people are writing that Pakistan should not miss the opportunity now. Modi ji also tried. No? When he became the Prime Minister for the oath-taking ceremony, all the SAARC leaders came. It was for Pakistan. And Nawaz Sharif, he met Nawaz Sharif just after he becomes Prime Minister. He went to his house for the marriage ceremony. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi told Mr. Rajesh Sharma in the interview that actually it was not sudden when he went to the Lahore for the marriage ceremony. It was also pre-planned. So actually, but when he found that Pakistan is giving a lot of sadhan, oxygen, money, weapons to that separatists in our Kashmir side, including the Hurriyat leaders, and they are inviting the Hurriyat leaders to the Pakistan High Commission, Delhi, and several meetings, secret meetings they are holding. So the foreign secretary level talk, we actually stopped. That was the beginning. And then Pakistan attacked. There's an incident took place, and then our surgical strike. So in the Modi era also, I must say that Modi ji, like China, the hospitality we have shown. We also gave the message like a statesman that we want peace. But now if they don't reciprocate, then we are not weak. Then we have to combat. And that's why surgical strike to today's Ladakh. Everything is a connected issues actually. So it's an extension of Kargil war. It's a right time to remember the Kargil victory, because I think the history is contemporary and we are connected. This Kargil is also connected with the Ladakh aggression because it's the axis. So I think this is a very good initiative you have taken. to remember the Kargil Victory Day.
So, sir, 21 years since Kargil. Do you think that we are in a better position today in respect to relations with our neighbors, irrespective of what kind of regime they have or they might not have? But do you think we are in a better position today than we were during Vajpayee's time?
I can say that today it is more realistic.
Realistic, correct.
Because romanticism is good. This Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai romanticism of Nehru, Narendra Modi is not following that romanticism.
Right, sir.
But that doesn't mean that Narendra Modi doesn't want the working relationship, professional relationship with China. So the theory is that we don't want Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, but Hindi Chini Dosti, the friendship, working relationship. So this sometimes, if you are a poet, if you are a romantic person, if you are a philosopher king, so the kavi hard reality, actually we miss the hard reality, the Jamini Haqiqat. So that hard reality, today's relationship, I mean, it is not like that, this ascending curve and the descending curve, this ascending curve, but I will say it's a consistent relationship. Pakistan also, one Pakistani diplomat was telling me that, we are actually this victim of your policy. We want talk, we want dialogue. The Pakistani diplomats always, whenever I meet them informally, they are actually consistently they are saying that we need dialogue. If you can go for dialogue with China, then why not with Pakistan? So that is now, they are crying basically for talk. But the Narendra Modi, he can start the dialogue tomorrow. Pakistan is ready. But what you are asking, that the relationship, Pakistan is also saying that we appreciate this Modiji's transparency and the realistic approach, because he is not hiding anything. Whatever he thinks, he is saying. And it is better than cosmetic romantic relationship. So cosmetic romantic relationship mein kya hota hai, if you can hide your own the personal, the sovereign agenda, and you are saying something. So this today I think is better because it is realistic, and I think that war and peace, it goes simultaneously. This is my personal opinion, because a lot of historians are saying that in ancient India also, in Mahabharata also, it was very violence. A lot of violence were there, but ultimately Mahabharata, Kurukshetra also, the war is actually, the goal is peace. So what is war? The definition of the war in the art of war, that it's an extension of the foreign policy in a different way. That is the art of war of the American author, not the Lun Tzu. Lun Tzu said that we should understand the enemy first before the war. So we don't understand China properly. That's why we always so now Modiji's approach is that we should know our enemy. So I think it is better than any mythological relationship, romantic relationship.
Right. So I hope the realistic approach gets us somewhere in the near future. And it was, sir, absolute pleasure talking to you, and especially for me, because I have special interest in this field, and since I come from an army background, all these things interest me a lot. So let's do this program.
Very good, very good. And actually, I think I tried to give your difficult questions, because your questions also I was understanding. Now I have come to know your background, because it's a very specific questions with the military details you are asking me. So it's a very good, nice conversation. I also liked it, and let's continue our dialogue. The dialogue is the best way to understand a lot of things. We are also learning. So through dialogue, actually, I am also learning a lot of things from you and the inputs, and these interactions are always helpful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.